Northeast Arkansas News is brought to you by Glenn Sain.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for your Northeast Arkansas Late News. I'm Josh Egbert.
And I'm Meredith Mitchell. A possible hepatitis outbreak at a Jonesboro restaurant this week is pushing nearby medical facilities to offer testing and treatment. The Arkansas Department of Health warns of possible hepatitis A exposure from the Steak and Shake. An employee there recently tested positive for the virus. The Department of Health is advising that anyone who ate at the restaurant between June 3rd and June 4th to get vaccinated. Experts say the virus is highly contagious, transmitted through contaminated food and water. William Payne of A-State's Clinical Lab Sciences says some people who contract the virus won't show symptoms initially, but when they do surface, they can resemble the flu.
So you have fatigue, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. You just overall don't feel well. But many people don't develop symptoms. They never show signs and symptoms of the disease, but they're still infectious.
The Craighead County Local Health Unit is providing a walk-in clinic for hepatitis A vaccinations from 8 a.m. to 5:30 tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. The Greene County Health Unit will also hold a walk-in clinic on Friday from 7 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening.
Now, your first weather.
And more hot and humid weather across the area for today. Our Wednesday showing temperatures upper 80s, low to mid 90s across the entire state of Arkansas. It have some pop-up showers and thunderstorms late this afternoon. Majority of that has stayed south of the Jonesboro area, actually down central and then eastern parts of Arkansas, where they did see some of those scattered showers and thunderstorms. Any storms that did produce some heavy rain and some gusty winds. They're going to really keep that chance of rain, at least on an isolated basis in our forecast here through the evening hours, maybe into the early overnight hours, before we finally just see more hot and humid weather in the forecast the next several days. Here's your highs across the area then today. 94 degrees down in Searcy, 94 degrees in Monticello, made it to 96, all the way down in El Dorado, 91 degrees Arkadelphia, and 94 degrees, a high temperature today in Hot Springs. Here's your Thursday forecast in Northeast Arkansas, starting out at 77 at 7 o'clock in the morning. Could be an isolated shower or thunderstorm around as well. Mostly sunny skies, hot and humid through the afternoon. Looking for a high reaching about 95, but that feel-like temperature, that heat index, probably back into the triple digits once again as we head into the afternoon hours of our Thursday. And we'll talk more about this heat and humidity with your full forecast coming up in just a few more minutes.
Well, anything from a Spanish class to a visit from the Mexican consulate, the Jonesboro Hispanic Center offers it all.
Northeast Arkansas's Alexis Padilla tells us how El Centro Hispano is growing since they opened about a few months ago.
More space means more people for Jonesboro's Hispanic Center. Back in October, the doors of El Centro Hispano opened. Executive Director Gina Gomez says their new space has allowed them to make a bigger impact in the community.
We were able to bring the consulate for an entire week to our offices, and they were able to provide documentation for about 500 people in 1 week. That is something huge, a huge benefit for our community.
The center hosts a variety of events and offers social, legal, educational, cultural, and health services. By looking on the outside, some people might think that El Centro Hispano is exclusively for Hispanics. That's not the case, though. The Hispanic Center here in Jonesboro is open for everyone, despite their ethnicity.
It's the home for everyone. And the Hispanic Center is not just for the Hispanic community, and I think that is a wrong idea that many people still have. The Hispanic Center is a community center for the entire community.
On any day the center is open, kids can be seen there in the after-school and summer programs. These services would not be possible without volunteers.
I get this warm feeling inside, like I'm doing something to help out these kids.
Since the center is a nonprofit, they need the community's help in order for them to give back.
So there are plenty of opportunities, whether it is volunteering or supporting financially, where people are able to contribute to the Hispanic Center.
For Northeast Arkansas News, I'm Alexis Padilla.
And one of the ways the Hispanic Center is using their new building is to teach kids a second language. This week, the center is holding a Spanish class. Kids are learning basic Spanish skills and about the Spanish culture. They're also doing more than just sitting in a classroom. They're doing art projects inspired by Spanish artists, using computer games to practice, and even playing games outside. The camp is open for kids ages 5 to 12. Camp coordinator Callista Holloway says learning Spanish at this age can have a big impact.
So at this age, learning a new language is super beneficial, even if it's just a little bit. And so at this young age, they're picking it up just a little bit faster. Also, they're gaining that appreciation for another language and another culture at a young age.
The Hispanic Center will be holding another Spanish camp on the week of July 30th. More information, and you can register by calling that number there on your screen, 870-931-1884.
High school students across Arkansas's Delta are training in all things related to the heart this week.
Northeast Arkansas' Simone Jamison takes us inside NYIT's mini medical camp.
Tyshawn Garrett spent his Wednesday afternoon dissecting a pig's heart in a gross anatomy class as part of NYIT's Project Heart summer camp.
As we're dissecting the heart, we learn like new parts of how the heart pumps. It goes from the top to the bottom and then throughout the body. It's kind of interesting the way I figured it out.
40 high school students enrolled in the mini medical camp, some traveling from Missouri. They train in basic life support, osteopathic manipulation, and more.
This camp is a joint partnership between Arkansas State University and NYIT. It gives high school students the opportunity to learn in an experiential environment and practice patient care, as well as open up their eyes to the possibilities of working in the medical field.
This year, students had the opportunity to get an up-close and personal view of the human heart using new virtual reality technology, made possible with a $1,000 Blue and You grant.
By bringing them together into these environments, we have more and more opportunity for them to interact early in their career, because then they start to understand each other better, they can appreciate one another professionally a lot more, and when they eventually become practicing providers out in the real world, they already are familiar with how to work together in those teams.
Dr. Amanda Deal says camp activities are not limited to classrooms.
They do research on their community before coming to this camp, so they know what is offered in their community already. And then we provide them a toolkit to use to address some of the concerns that maybe they encountered when they did their community research.
Project Heart students are preparing to teach their medical skills to a new generation of doctors. For Northeast Arkansas News, I'm Simone Jameson.
Students will be headed to the Crane Academy and Camp Raider later this week. Project Heart camp runs until Friday.
U.S. obesity rates may be climbing again. Researchers analyzed data from 2 ongoing federal health surveys, finding the overall prevalence of obesity rose between 1999 and 2016. These patterns differ depending on sex, race, and other factors. Among men, obesity rates plateaued between 2009 and 2012. Among kids, it depended on the sex when leveling off occurred. If nothing changes, the team estimates half of all U.S. teenagers will be overweight or obese by 2013, as well as 1/3 of the kids between 6 and 11 years old.
Elevated blood pressure when you are 50 may raise your risk of developing dementia later in life. Researchers tracked the blood pressure and brain health of more than 8,000 British civil servants, focusing specifically on the association between blood pressure and dementia risk at age 50, 60, and 70. People with a systolic blood pressure reading of 130 or more at age 50 were much more likely to develop dementia than people with lower blood pressure at the same age.
The talk about suicide and depression brought to the forefront after 2 high-profile suicides last week.
Dr. Ryan Stanton has more on how to increase awareness with ourselves and our loved ones.
I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and it's time for What's Going Around Extra. With the recent highly publicized suicide deaths of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, depression and suicide are a big topic of conversation. Though it seems to take the death of a celebrity to get the attention it deserves, the CDC reports about 45,000 Americans intentionally take their own lives every single year. What we want to do is increase information, awareness, and options for those that feel that life is no longer worth living. A recent publication from the CDC reports a significant increase in suicides throughout the country in the last 18 years, with more than 54% of deaths in those with no known history of mental health conditions. The common thread of suicide is a sense of hopelessness, and though thoughts may be recurrent, the act of suicide itself is most often impulsive in nature. The most common methods of fatal harm are from firearms and strangulation. The CDC reports the highest contributions are from relationship problems, stress related to a past or upcoming crisis, substance abuse, health concerns, and job issues. The key is recognition and early intervention. Signs include a sense of hopelessness, feeling like a burden, isolation, feeling trapped, increased substance abuse, looking for access to lethal means, especially firearms, increased anger, extreme mood swings, perseverating on death, and having a plan to harm oneself. It's very important for others to act when there is a concern by asking, ensuring safety, being with the patient, helping them connect, and following up with them. The best defense against suicide is connection, supportive relationships, and a sense of hope. It may not prevent every single death, but it can save many lives. You can see the full report on the CDC website and at BeTheOne2.com. Life is difficult, and we need to do everything we can to be there when others are in need. You can join the conversation on the Stanton MD Facebook page or at Everyday Med on Twitter. I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this has been a What's Going Around Extra.
Still to come tonight, President Trump is back at the White House following his whirlwind summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
He tweeted this morning that everyone can feel safer than the day he took office and that North Korea was no longer a nuclear threat, but not everyone is convinced.
And more heat and humidity in our forecast here over the next several days in northeast Arkansas. Could be an isolated shower or thunderstorm around through the evening and overnight.